How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we have a gameplay review of Branded Chimera versus Tearlaments. Before we begin, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel as always. And I think Tearlaments, similarly to Unchained, things that still exist in today's meta, are very interesting matchups to look at when it comes to Branded Chimera, because Branded Chimera's main function is sending card from the hand and destroying stuff with things like Guardian Chimera. That's really hard against Unchained and Tearlaments, and we're going to see how intense it gets. And before we start, I just want to say that there are a few important mistakes that I made throughout the game here, even though I still ended up winning, which are super important. And I think this is why these videos are so valuable, because I can see those mistakes, learn from them, and also can you. So this is why I think it's so great to go over gameplay, play a lot, of course, but also go over your gameplay, or my gameplay specifically, and see what you did wrong. Tearlaments, I didn't know I was playing versus Tearlaments. It's really scary to send cards from their hand, but this hand is obviously super cracked because one, it can, and this is why playing Talents in this deck is really good, because your opponent could be severely punished by interacting with you. So for example, getting hit with Droll or Ash on the Kotal, called by Talents to take a card, and then during the end phase take another card. Your opponent starts with 3 cards in hand. They're not going to win over your board. So here, starting off with the Kotal, because we have the called by, there's no real reason why to play around Droll here specifically. I would actually rather be hit by Droll because we're still going to get Chimera. So we want to bait out that Droll. Now, 1, 2, 3, I started doing Chimera as Chain Link 3 so I don't get hit with Ash or Bell on these two. But specifically, again, against this matchup, could have been me in the ass because I could have had Havness on the other hand, which I didn't know was possible. So everything standard. This build, I was testing out the Patchwork Engine, which I really enjoyed actually. A lot of chain blocking, a lot of pluses. Like, I started off with 5 cards. I have 9 cards in total, so overall +4. 4 cards in grave, 2 interruptions, Chimera Fusion, and Called by the Grave. And yeah, I think this is basically it. Hitting the Trivic Karma, then I understand what are the implications of this game, because now Trivic Karma is live. They're going to get a Parallel Rhino. During the draw phase, I activate Big Wing Berfomat. You would rather activate it here just to gain that additional card advantage in hand and more materials, rather than do it in the main phase and lose to Talents for now, right? Up until this point. So this one adds you, of course, the Chimera Fusion and the Gazelle. And here they start off with the Parallel Rhino. So right now, I have a negate. I have a targeting negate on the field. And honestly, I'm going to say I lose this game because I misplayed extremely hard. Like game 1, I lose because I could have interrupted a lot better. Because, you know, now my interruptions are basically, I have a negate for like 1 monster, and then I have a call by, which is great against tier. But then Chimera Fusion, you know, I could have maybe played this a little bit earlier, but deactivated Pearl Arena first, so I couldn't get Magnum to the field at the beginning. Sheeran hits only Scream, and then Scream starts going insane. Now this is a crazy mill. These 3 like guarantee you a Rulkalos probably, which interferes with Chimera. So I do hit the Merly here, and they hit nothing on the extra mill. Then they have 2 mills, and then they hit the Havness. So, you know, the odds were they have 20 plus cards in the deck. They have a Sheeran here, Merly here, so they're just looking for the one more name. And sometimes you have to take that chance against tier because they're not always going to get the right hit. So here, so now Pearl is activated. I definitely chained the Kotal to that because I need this on the field. Now, you have the Tier Cash. The Kotal doesn't destroy, obviously. I mentioned that. Tier Cash to mill another 2. And then Mirror Swords Knight to negate, which I think was the biggest mistake here, because now they can negate the Chimera Fusion with Rulkalos. They also have a Shuffler in Graveyard. It puts me in a really bad position. Like, I could have gotten a Dragostapelia, or even now with the Chimera and the Cornfield, just get the big guy, the Chimera, the Illusion Beast, that cannot be destroyed by battle, and keep these 2 in the graveyard then they can't basically outrun it. They can't pop it once. They can't, pop it with like a Baron or something. I think this is what I should have done because now it really steamrolls when they get to Baron. I really have no interruptions here. I did want to, try to get the Chimera off in the graveyard, but they also have a normal, they have Rhino here. And then during the battle phase, they can just make Redoer and get another fusion. Losing this with 7 cards in hand and interactions that I could have done definitely better than I have. They also have a shuffler, doesn't really matter. I played this bad. I had all the advantage, even though he had like good cards to play. But yeah, I definitely threw that. So this is something you learn. Now, this is good because it sets you up with an interaction that could counter Rule Kalos if they get it, which they will. Because they draw the one-off Havness, which is great. They also hit the Rhino, which is also good. Now here, there's no way for me to negate the Rhino here, so they will get a mill, and they already have the King of the Swamp, so they will get Rule Kalos on the field, which will get a negate, which could interrupt my Chimera Fusion. This is just how it is against Tyr sometimes. So first of all, I go for this, right? Why do I decide... Oh, because I already have this on field and this in hand. I'm not sure why I decided here to use Chimera Fusion with these two. Probably just to get the Fright for Patchwork, right? Because I could use this later. 1, 2, 3. And again, you do want to chain block here because Rule Kalos technically could negate the summon of Swords Knight. Pluses. Add this. Patchwork. Add Polyagimp. Now, this Rhino Heart gets banished when it goes to the graveyard. I want to draw additional cards to help me fight them next turn because they already have a setup, right? So Chimera, Big Wing, and then someone back at the Swords Knight. I draw basically more engine, unfortunately. Chimera Fusion back to hand. I do have the Imperm, so it's good because I have a negate for the Rule Kalos. So my interruptions will go through. English, bad, hard. And then Imperm as well for another negate. So rip a card again, scary, but I will still do that because they already summoned here. I do hit the Shuffler, which actually probably kind of helped them. Like, they don't have anything playable in hand, right? Because we already had a lot of interactions with them. So here, I go for the Magnum early because I want to trade with the Pearl Rhino. But we hit the Shuffler. And in the graveyard, we have 1 fusion card, 2 fusion card, 3 fusion card. So their Shuffler is gonna completely outdo our Magnum. Completely outdo it. And there's no way for us to negate it because we don't have Chimera anymore because we used it. Why didn't I send... Like, I wanted to keep Chimera here because I had Poly and it's really hard for them to get through if they don't have Pearl Rhino. But it might have been a misplay to get rid of the Chimera here. Should have gotten rid of the Guardian Chimera and kept the Chimera, so I have 2 negates, which is just... I forgo 2 negates. I still won, but I just let go of 2 negates. And now my Magnum couldn't respond here, right? Tier Cash, Mill 3 misses. Rinbroom, I let it die because I want to trade with the Rule Kalos with the Fallen Valbaz, so this is why it's good to have that. And again, I could have played this turn a lot better, in my opinion. So we do that. We go Tango here. Mirror Jade. Rule Kalos. Banish it. And yeah. But it's not over, guys. It's definitely not over. Guardian Chimera 1. Havness 2. Kashtira Tearlaments 3. They hit the Sheeran here. Go for the Kaleido Hearts. Not over. You would think it's over, but it's not. So they decide on like targeting and stuff. They shuffle back this. Malicious, Dark, and now they know, right? It's going to be a hard time for me to get over the Kaleido Heart, but I have follow-up here. But they are smart. Like, this Rinbroom is going to be banished soon, don't worry. Yeah, they take my Albion and just ended on that with the Sulliak. End phase, I have to do this to get more follow-up here. Yeah. Now, Poly here. I want to draw into more cards, get more summons, get more effects, and they cannot target my Chimera with the Sulliek here. Now I can get this. This is active for this turn, and I draw Super Poly, which actually isn't amazing. And now get ready for the biggest misplay that I made. And this is something that you have to remember. And I don't really know why I didn't remember it. But again, this is why we go over VODs and learn. I go for a big Chimera here. This is enough. They don't have a shuffler. This is enough to go for a game attacking 3 times with the Magnum, right? But I attack 3 times and I forget to attack with the Magnum for some reason. This Dark is 0 attack, right? So Magnum would just finish it. It wouldn't have gone to the graveyard because it would have been game already, right? And I still managed to pull through, even though I played it really bad. And they do, this is just nuts. We both mill 5. They get fusions. I have to keep this on the board. And I use this here and not the Codal because I want to save the Codal for the... otherwise, they can't really interact with it. This effect, Magnum, Banish, and then Codal, and it's basically game from there. So see, a lot of interactions that you need to be familiar with, cards that you're not used to playing with, like Chimera the Illusion Beast, you have to remember. Now this is extremely funny. I have this one of in my side. Just for the funnies, basically. It's a really good card in my opinion. Maybe for like a thrust target. It's a really, really good card, but it's funny that they kind of bricked an anti-spell, you know. Now, basically, all I have to do is set to pass Mirror Swords Knight. Their deck is kind of bricky at this point. Berfomat, Chimera Fusion, and then I activate my Chimera Fusion. Now, there is a case here where you just don't, you know they're bricking. So, on one hand, ripping a card could be really impactful. Otherwise, it's tier. I could have hit the Agido here. But I just go for the card advantage here because I know the True Nade is going to do some work here. So now they're going to put back the anti-spell because it only returns set cards. But it's funny because it kind of resets their board and resets their advantage. And now I'm in the driver's seat because I have 3 hand traps here. And a hand drip, and they're on a 1-turn clock. So unless I hit the exact right card here, it could have gone extremely wrong for me. To be honest, it could have gone extremely wrong for me. So thankfully, but again, could have been a misplay as well. But yeah, just Brick Saga. I could have unbricked them with hitting literally almost any other card. But again, a game that or a match that I kind of shouldn't have won, but still did, regardless of my misplays. But I think this is great. Even though I played really bad at some instances, this is how I'm still new to the deck as well. Like I have hours on it, but it's still interactions that those will be ingrained to my head and to my brain forever now. Those Chimera the Illusion Beast interactions, getting your setups right before your opponent starts playing. And yeah, I did hope you learned something from this as well. Leave a comment below. What do you think about this matchup? How do you think I played it? Could have played better? Leave a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.